Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another Gig Talk episode. This is episode number 14. And as you can tell, I'm in the car today. I'm on my way actually not to a direct show yet. I do have a show this evening. I'm actually heading to my teaching space. I gotta pick up a few things to take with me to the gig. But I figured I would make an episode today and discuss something that's actually not gigging related in today's episode. I know usually on these Gig Talk episodes I like to talk about gigging related things, but what I want to do in this one specifically is talk about more of like, what am I going to name this one? I'm going to name it basically the traits that my top students have, or the traits that my top students possess, because I've been teaching for about 7.5 years. Yeah, 7.5 years. And I have a full roster of students, and I've definitely seen a lot of characteristics that when I say my top students, what I mean is I really like all of my students. They're great, they're awesome to see and hang out with every single week, but when it comes to the students that get the most out of the guitar and they really learn and get better quicker or faster, there's certain things that they do that I've noticed over time and over all these years that the students that don't get as much out of the instrument don't do. Now, there are definitely some outliers here. What I want to say about that is, there's some students that obviously they just pick up things more natural, and there's some students that don't. And what I always do kind of tell people when they come into lessons and maybe they're frustrated about, learning bar chords or learning how to bend their strings or just whatever, for example, that might be something that you have to put a bit more effort into. But then it's like, look at the things that you are stronger at, because everyone's got those things that they are naturally better at, to kind of look forward to. But when it comes to the specific characteristics, the very first thing that comes to my mind is the students that go above and beyond with their practice. So that's the number one thing. I've said this in a previous Gig Talk episode that when it comes to practice time, I tell my students that, I understand that not everybody wants to make a living out of the guitar and everyone wants to just have maybe some fun with it. I think a good minimum for the week would be 3 practice sessions a week, not counting our lesson, 30 minutes a piece minimum. And I found that people will continuously, slowly improve every week, and we can obviously move on every week during lessons if they hit that number. But the students that come in and do more, I have some students that practice every single day. I have some students that practice, they come in and they tell me that they had the time to practice twice a day, every single day, or even 4 to 5 times a week instead of just the bare minimum of 3. So, all these come into play, but those compound over time. And I find that, I know it's pretty obvious, but the students that practice more obviously get more out of it. Another characteristic that I find that a lot of my top students have is when they come in excited about new music and a new song that they want to learn. So, there's a lot of instances where I have students that start lessons with me, and you can kind of tell that they've probably been told by maybe their parents that they have to pick an instrument, so they decide on the guitar over anything else. And you can tell, they don't mind it. It's maybe a little bit of a cooler instrument, so they take that on, but they don't love it. They didn't get into it because they wanted to. They did it because they kind of had to. And usually those students are the ones that aren't really into music. They're not really into practicing or going above and beyond. But the students that come in excited about a new song, I have a few students that really like, I have one specifically, that she comes in and she always wants to learn a new Taylor Swift song after song, which is cool because it keeps her really interested in the guitar, and she practices a lot and really hard every single week. And I have a gentleman that I teach, and he's been, ever since he started learning guitar with me, he's been just getting more into music more than he ever has, and he's been rediscovering music that he's always enjoyed and wanted to learn since he was a teenager, that he just never had the time through adulthood. But now that he's retired, he can do it. So students that are really excited about learning new music, and they come in hungry and wanting to learn new stuff without me having to, just have new stuff for them and just pick for them, those students definitely go a lot further as well because they're more motivated to practice, they're more excited to play and practice. And when they do slowly start getting better and they see results, they're playing songs that they've always wanted to play. Another really big characteristic that I find that a lot of my top students possess are shying away from challenges when it comes to learning new songs or just practice in general. I have, for example, a few students that I can kind of tell, you know, they're pretty good, but they like to practice. I find that when I ask them, you know, how was your week of practice? I find that over time they like to kind of avoid the tougher things that we do. And they really practice the much easier things that they're just already good at, you know. So it's all about taking on the challenge. You know, it's always fun to play stuff that you feel good about and everything, but I find that the students that don't shy away from the challenges, whether that be taking on a new song that they didn't think they could do, or taking on a new technique in a solo that they wanted to learn, but they just never thought they were ready for it. Or a big one is the students that actually put effort into memorizing some music. So, for example, I have a student who came in and requested to learn the solo to Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And what was really cool about this was it was his request. He wanted to learn it. And I told him after the first 2 lessons we had with the song that I wanted to start slowly memorizing each part, because it's going to come together full circle at the end, and it's just going to sound a lot smoother and all together because he was having to still use the tab paper that I provided for him. And ultimately he did it. He memorized all of the pages of tab that we needed for the solo, and he was so pumped about it when he came into his final lesson with that song, because he actually sounded like the recording. And I told him, I said, I want you to think about this moment, because you know, you had the skill obviously to play the solo, you know, we went note for note, but you also put in that effort to memorize the music, and that really put you over the edge with it. Imagine if you knew all the notes but you needed the paper, for example. It just wouldn't have came off as smooth. You know, you would have been doing a lot of stopping and restarting because we didn't know what came next. But he put in that extra bit of effort, went that extra mile, and memorized the music. And that's all about taking on the challenge. As a private guitar instructor, you know, I don't have people memorize every single song they ever play, depending on the song. You know, if it's like a full-blown chord song and they're kind of a beginner, I'm not going to have them worry about memorizing, just use the paper. But when they get to a certain level, you know, because I like to break down songs or solos and, you know, part by part, every week it's just learning or memorizing a little bit. The students that do that over month after month, year after year, they just skyrocket above, unfortunately, the students that don't do it. Now, really what I'm trying to get at here with these topics is I want people to realize, again, I've been teaching for a while now, and I see these same things with certain students, and these are the 3 things that really put certain students of mine over the top, and they really get better or grow fast with these things. So if you're somebody that's maybe a beginner, more intermediate, and you find that deep down, you watch this video and you're like, you know what, I've noticed that I haven't been really challenging myself lately, or I've been avoiding this, or this music theory, or this and that because it is a challenge. You know, it can be a little bit of a wake-up call. It can be kind of a good thing to hear from me in this video, where it's like, you know, maybe you are playing a little bit comfortable right now. Maybe you are just playing the same 3 songs that you've been playing forever. Maybe it's time to start something a little bit new and challenge yourself. Maybe you do avoid memorizing music or memorizing certain things. You know, so I want this to be kind of an informative video. Something that I've noticed over time with my own students, something that I've just noticed over time as a guitar instructor. But I hope all of these tips made sense to you. Things just to look out for in yourself, in your own practice routine. Again, if you are self-taught or if you take lessons, you know, it's good to kind of self-reflect sometimes. So if you guys do like videos like this and you do want to see more from the channel, just make sure to subscribe. It helps us a ton. We're still a growing channel, small and growing channel, and I upload content every single week. So if you do subscribe to the channel, it helps us a ton, and you will be notified every single week moving forward.